at the movies with Tim Sika. Welcome aboard, my friend.
Hi, Kim. Hi. Can you
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can. You sound different than normal, but you sound good.
Yeah, well, I'm in an undisclosed location in my
Oh,
car.
okay.
So, yeah, that's where I'm doing this from. Thank God for technology and that I was able to figure this out because I wasn't sure I was going to be able to make it this week. But with a little bit of ingenuity and some foresight, I managed to do this because I look forward to this every week to talk to you about
I'm
movies.
so proud. And you sound good in the car. It's got good acoustics, good car
Oh,
acoustics.
good. Oh,
There you
good.
go.
All right.
Let's dive right in. The first movie is The Sinners.
Yeah, Sinners. This was, on so many levels, a really kind of bold and interesting film, a kind of hybrid drama horror film, but a movie which I did not get at all. It's set in the 1930s in the South, and Michael B. Jordan, who's terrific, he's in the poster
Mhm.
there. He's such a great actor. I look forward to anything that he's in. He plays this dual role as twin brothers, Smoke and Stack. Get it?
Mhm.
Smoke and Stack.
Mhm.
Okay. Who returned to their hometown of Pennsylvania, not Pennsylvania. God, see, this is yeah, it's hot in this car. Their hometown of Mississippi,
Okay.
after living several years in Chicago, which they thought was going to be this like racial paradise, right? Well, it
Mhm.
turned out not to be. So, using money that they stole from Chicago gangsters, they buy this sawmill from a racist landowner in Mississippi, which they plan to transform into a juke joint for the local black community. That's kind of where this movie kind of begins. And there are a handful of subplots introduced once this setup is established involving ex-girlfriends, blues singers, Irish immigrants, the KKK, Native Americans, and then this is so weird. About an hour into the picture, the movie morphs into a vampire horror movie where the inhabitants of the juke joint are besieged by this trio of vampires. And yeah, despite some interesting sequences of a certain type and a palpable sense of ambition running through the film, this movie really seemed to want to try to do something different and new. I just did not get it. Admittedly, I didn't get this movie at all, nor the overwhelmingly glowing critical response to it. It started off interestingly enough, but then it just took some weird narrative turns. When it started to get a little dull, it inexplicably shifted gears and suddenly became a different movie, a horror movie, a vampire movie. And why it morphed into a horror film an hour or so into it made no sense to me at all, which made the preceding drama and dramatic setup make even less sense to me. So I just found this movie confusing, exhausting, long. Horror fans might like it, but for general audiences, I just can't recommend it.
Not recommended. Okay. The
Mm.
next one is called The Wedding Banquet.
The Wedding Banquet. Yes, this is a romantic comedy and a remake. It's a modern day spin on the 1993 Ang Lee classic of the same name. Did you ever see that, Kim?
Mm-mm.
It's a really, really good movie. By the way, it made it into the Library of Congress National Film Registry 2 years ago. Okay, so which for me always begs the question: why remake a film that is already considered a classic? We won't go there, but anyway, this isn't a bad film. In fact, it has a lot going for it. There are some really tender moments, some amusing moments. The cast is really great. Lily Gladstone is in this. Joan Chen, the great Joan Chen. Bowen Yang, the ubiquitous Bowen Yang. He's everywhere these days. But it's a bit dated. Comedies about being in the closet were in the 90s, but there's not much fresh about that concept in 2025. Whereas in the original, which was about real simple story, but kind of rife for humor. Was about a bisexual Taiwanese immigrant who marries a Chinese woman, a mainland Chinese woman, to placate his parents because they were putting pressure on him to get married, and then to get her green card. And then when his parents unexpectedly arrive in the United States to plan his wedding banquet, he has to hide the truth from his parents that he has a gay partner. In 1993, that was fresh, and the movie's narrative line was simple and clean. This remake introduces God, so many things. A lesbian couple, a gay couple, single mothers of lesbian women and gay men, and all kinds of other exposition that feels, quite frankly, cluttered and
Mm,
needlessly contrived in the way remakes, especially remakes of established classics, feel they need to do to embrace in order to justify themselves.
yeah.
So the film is a mixture of some really eye-rolling moments, but also, I have to admit, some tender and funny ones. So on balance, I think there's enough, especially if people haven't seen the original, there's enough that's good in this remake to give it a qualified recommendation. I really recommend this one to a Gen Z, especially. I think they'll enjoy it. And but do yourselves a favor and watch the 1993 original if you've never seen it. It's a product of its time for sure, but it's also a much better movie.
I wonder, you made me think of something when you talk about, how in jokes about being in the closet or plot lines based about being in the closet aren't really applicable to today because it's not so much of a big deal anymore, maybe for
Right,
people.
right.
Perhaps in America, maybe not, but maybe in different cultures
Yeah,
or if you come
good
from
point.
different backgrounds, maybe it
Yeah,
is. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe possibly more
Yeah.
so in the Asian community, which is
Hmm.
where this movie takes place. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, so it may be fresh to some cultures. I'm only calling them as I am seeing them.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah,
That's the wedding banquet.
yeah.
The next one is called the Shrouds.
Oh wow, the Shrouds. This is one hell of a kicker of a movie. Okay, so oh god, where do I even start? Okay, all
Mhm.
right. So all right. So this is about, okay, let me say what it's about. It's about a businessman played by Vincent Cassell, whose wife has recently died, and he's just inconsolable. He's endlessly grieving over her death. So check this premise out. In order to cope with his inconsolable grief, he invents this revolutionary and controversial technology called grave tech that enables the living to monitor their dear departed's corpses as they decay in these specially designed shrouds. So that's the premise. Why anyone would want that, I don't know. Well, who's to
That's
say? But
the question I asked Michael Snyder, like, why? Why would
why?
anybody want to see their loved one
Yeah,
decaying and
yeah, and
withering
decompose.
away?
Yes,
No.
yeah, yeah. Well, I did some research on this, and it turns out that it's a real personal story
Mhm.
that's sparked by the death of the filmmaker's wife. The filmmaker in question is David Cronenberg, who originated the body horror film genre. And he has a reputation for making movies just like this. Movies like Crash, about a group of people who are sexually turned on by car crashes, and other
Mm,
body horror movies like Shivers and Rabid and
okay.
Scanners and Videodrome, those kind of movies. Anyway, what the Shrouds is, I think if you watch the Shrouds with this in mind, I think you'll find it interesting. To me, it's a movie about grief and how some people deal with it. How grieving and loss is a unique and personal thing. Some people, get over their losses quickly. Some takes years. Different people deal with grief and loss in many different ways. I also think there's something in here about the link between sex and death, which is a whole nother conversation. But this is a very talky movie. It's a
That kind of
slow.
freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah, well, yeah, Woody Allen likes to joke about that a lot. That's probably where I got
Okay.
that from. But
Yeah.
but this movie, it's slow moving. As with many of Cronenberg's movies, especially his earlier ones, it makes virtually no concessions to its audience. It's not dramatic by conventional standards. It just kind of sits there on the screen. For me, watching it felt like getting stuck. I think this is what made it so interesting to me. It made me feel like I was stuck in somebody's dream and I couldn't escape. I couldn't get out of somebody else's dream loop. And when it was over, I was reminded, Kim, of something film critic David Thompson said of Eyes Wide Shut, which I never forgot. He said that every frame felt like a prison.
Oh,
And that almost could apply here.
yeah.
So yeah, the Shrouds is it's a movie by a master filmmaker, David Cronenberg, a movie of ideas with a capital I. It's a movie stacked with ideas, actually, that are provocative, interesting, and very personal. Personal. I don't think it entirely sticks the landing, so to speak, narratively. Plot bits are introduced and never fully or ever efficiently followed up on. Right when I was getting used to the movie and expecting it to go on, it suddenly stopped. But it's different enough, it's bold enough and interesting enough to recommend it to the adventurous film goer, or definitely for fans of the director's own work. So
Mm.
I'm recommending it, but this may not sound like something you want to participate in, because it is very, very strange. It's very odd. Like you said, who would want to watch their deceased partner watch their body decompose in real time? I mean,
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is I understand maybe where the premise came from, because
mhm.
anytime I visited a relative at the graveyard,
Uh-huh.
I always the thought pops into my head fleetingly. I
Uh-huh.
wonder what
You
it
wonder
looks
what they
like
look
under there.
like.
I wonder what it looks like
Yeah.
under there. I would never wanna really know, but the
Yeah.
idea flies by as I
Yeah.
pass by,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
no,
like,
no, that's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
I thought the same. Yeah, often
Mhm.
when I visit a gravesite, like, or are they there? Are they completely decomposed? Are there
Right.
just bones? Is it dust?
Right.
Yeah, so maybe
Yeah.
that's where he got the idea. I don't know, but Cronenberg is 82 now, and he's still making this stuff. He's still making provocative stuff.
Mm.
So I always give props to the old guys that have been in the business for a long time that are
Yeah.
still churning them out. So
This
yeah.
next movie is called On Swift Horses.
This is probably my favorite film of the week, which is why I left it to last.
Hmm.
It's based on a book of the same name, and it's a classically styled drama. It's actually an epic romance
Oh.
and a 1950s period piece about two brothers played by Jacob Elordi and Will Poulter. Yeah, they're in the poster there somewhere. The former happens to be gay and a gambler with wanderlust, and the latter's married to a woman played by Daisy Edgar Jones, who's straddling a fine line between being the conventional 1950s wife in America post-war, and when she's not working or betting on horses, she spends her downtime exploring her own sexuality within this marriage. And there is so much kicking around in this absorbing drama in a movie that is just simmering with passion and a richness of feeling underneath these carefully crafted character facades. Great acting in this movie, nuanced writing, a very rich film about, oh God, risk and living a lie. It's about desire, human connection. As I said, the setting is in 1950s and post-war America, the Eisenhower era, where, nobody, I could be wrong about this, but because I'm not that old, but in the 50s, everything I've read, movies I've seen, documentaries I've seen about that era, nobody ever seemed to address anything directly in that decade. So much was unsaid, and there seemed to be a great subtext to what people were saying when they were saying anything at all, especially things about feelings. And this movie captures that so well. And on top of all of it, it's kind of like this. It's kind of like a queer love story told through an historical lens, boasting this kind of classical movie aesthetic that I love. The
Mm.
film style being dictated by the film's content, which I wish more movies these days would be following. But whatever. From my mouth to God's ears. But anyway, this movie is just so rich. It's about a lot of stuff. It's a conventional narrative, very easy to follow, very easy to get to develop a rooting interest in these characters that you come to feel about. There's no villains in this story, and it's a film about longing and hidden desire and secrecy and things left unsaid, knowing who you are, slowly discovering who you are, what is real, determining what is real for you, and then going after that. So yeah, I love this movie. I've seen it twice already, and so far it's one of the best movies of 2025 in my book.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. On
yeah,
Swift Horses. Your classic movie recommendation of the week is called The Nun's Story.
yeah. Have you ever seen it?
I have not.
Oh, you have to. This is
Ooh.
always a favorite of mine. It's directed by the great Fred Zinnemann, It's the nun story. It is, how would I describe this movie? It's a superbly restrained and deeply relevant drama about this young woman, radiantly played by Audrey Hepburn there in the poster, in one of her great screen roles, who goes through the rigor of becoming a nun in a time when being a nun required you to literally let go of your former life. The story takes place in Belgium in the 1920s, only to undergo this super serious inner struggle about what it means to be a good practicing nun. And I ain't going to tell you how it all turns out, but it's a high drama of faith, of inner struggle and service. It's one of the most superbly crafted films I've ever seen, with a great music score by Franz Waxman. It was nominated for 6 Academy Awards in 1959, including Best Picture, Best Actress, and Director. And it still remains one of the best films I've ever seen about religion and spirituality. And I just love it. I can't tell you how many times I've watched The Nun Story, but it's streaming for anybody interested on Tubi, which means it's free, and you can also stream it on Prime if you have Amazon Prime. It's a great, great, great movie.
It looks like they're working in some type of apothecary or pharmacy.
They are in that photo. They are in the Belgian Congo. She's sent by the mother house to, because she plays the daughter of a surgeon, and so she's really kind of up. She wanted to be a nurse, so
Okay.
she's really up on medicine and tropical medicine, and yeah. So yeah, one of the storylines is that she winds up in the Congo right before World War II. And yeah, I love that shot of Hepburn. Oh, that's
Such an
sort of
expressive face. Isn't that a classic?
yeah.
Yeah.
This like she doesn't have to say
Mhm.
anything. Just her look
Mm-mm.
says everything. Yeah, it's just a wonderful, wonderful film. It's a I was gonna say I want to say it's a Catholic film. It's obviously takes place within the Catholic religion, but there's no kind of proselytizing or anything. It's just a very reverent and respectful kind of like documentation of the way that young women who were interested in the religious life,
Mhm.
underwent this training of self discipline and self awareness and just perfection. That's what the nuns were after, like perfection, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But yeah, and the movie dramatizes that beautifully, and Hepburn's great. There's a lot of great supporting actresses playing these nuns. Dame Edith Evans plays the Mother Superior. It's just a great movie. I just love it.
I'm
And
surprised.
I think being raised Catholic helped that I liked it so much. But I think
Oh,
you can not be Catholic and really enjoy this movie.
I'm surprised that this whole segment in the Congo, that back in these days, what's the date on this movie? Is it in the 50s or
It's
60s?
no, it takes place in the 1920s. That's when it begins, but it goes through the 30s, and I think when she's in the Congo, it's before. I think it's late 30s. It's before the war started.
But the movie came out in 1959, and I wonder, I would have thought that maybe some of these scenes maybe wouldn't play as well today when you look at, the way that maybe they didn't present with any type of, um, I don't know, ethics or compassion, other
Oh,
other cultures type of thing,
yeah.
but
Well,
maybe it
no,
still works?
yeah, no, it does, and the culture there is presented in a very respectful way.
Mm.
No, I don't think anything about this film ages. There's a leprosy subplot. I don't know. Are people still getting leprosy today? I don't know. Um,
Somewhere in the
back
world, perhaps. I don't know.
yeah, back then it was common, and there's a
Mhm.
subplot with that, but there's nothing about this film at all that to me seems dated. And I watched it again. I love doing these classic movie recommendations because
Yeah.
it forces me. I get to watch. I have an excuse to rewatch these movies, which I
Redo
really
it?
don't need to rewatch because I've seen them so many times anyway. But yeah, no, nothing about this movie is dated, in my opinion.
Awesome. Okay, we'll recap it. We have it's just Sinners. is a movie that is out this weekend. You called it bold and interesting, but you did not get it. You
No,
said
I
it
didn't.
seemed to want to do something, but it was different and it was new. And then it started off well, but it took some really weird turns. And all of a sudden, before you know it, it's a horror movie. You said this made no sense to you. It's confusing and exhausting and long, and it is not recommended by Tim Sika. That is The Sinners.
Yeah.
The Wedding Banquet. The Wedding Banquet, you said it's not a bad film. It's good. It's got some tender moments. It's kind of dated. It's some got some contrived moments in here, but it's good enough to recommend, especially for people that are in Gen Z. So the Wedding Banquet, you recommend it, but you're not wholeheartedly going, yay, this is
Yeah,
not,
yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
gave it a qualified recommendation. Yeah,
qualified. My apologies.
yeah.
As for the Shrouds, you said
Oh,
it's interesting movie about grief, which is unique and personal, but it's slow moving. It
oh
sits on
yeah.
the screen. You felt stuck in someone else's dream. The ideas were interesting, but this movie did not stick the landing for you. It was different enough, though, that you recommend it for the adventurous moviegoer.
Yes.
On Swift Horses, you said this is one of the best movies of 2025. An epic romance set in the 1950s, a queer love story. You said this was felt very rich, and you love this movie. This is called On Swift Horses. And then, of course, everyone waits for your classic movie wreck of the week, The Nun's Story from 1959. This romance, you said this is a great movie, and it stood the test of time, and you're recommending that we roll back the clocks and watch this movie, The Nun Story, with Audrey Hepburn, and the
Audrey
pictures
Hepburn.
are
Yeah.
really cool. Again, I have to show this one because her face.
Oh yeah,
My
that's a
goodness.
great scene. Yeah.
And there we have it. Tim Sika, I hope you have the very best weekend. Happy Easter, whatever you
Oh
celebrate,
yeah.
whatever you're doing, have a great
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy Easter to you too, Kim. And I'm glad we were able to pull this off this week.
I
I don't
know.
Yeah, I don't like to miss coming on your show every week. So
I
thanks
don't
for
like it
having me.
either. People were
Yeah.
wondering, are you on a stakeout? Calvin wants to know if you're on in your car on a stakeout.
Oh, actually, I had some business to take care of in San
Uh,
Francisco, and I didn't think I was going to be back in time. But I thought, well, I can do this makeshift thing. Gee, technically now I could do this. I could do this from my car every week. I guess you'd never
you
even
could.
notice, right?
Doesn't matter
Yeah.
where you are. You could just,
No.
yeah, we'll
No.
take it.
I
Thank
love
you,
it.
Tim
I love
Sika.
technology when it works like this. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time, next
All right,
Friday.
Kim. All right. See you
Absolutely.
next week.
And
Bye.
that is At the Movies with Tim Sika. Bye, Tim Sika.
Bye.
Bye.